Welcome back to Growing in Faith, and we're on to week 2. So last week we looked at the idea of faith and just what faith is. But this week we say, well, what do I need to have faith in? So we began by talking about a tower. Now, I remember going up the Eiffel Tower many years ago and going up in quite a strong wind. And it was a little bit disconcerting because the tower was just gently swaying in the wind. It's designed to do so. It's designed that it has this nice wide base to give it that strength. So like the Empire State Building in America, do you know there's 55 feet or something like that below the ground of the Empire State Building? That gives it its strength. And the thing about a tower is you want to be at the top, but with the feeling of security that the tower is going to stand. There's the image that we've been working with in the picture that we've been talking about faith. And the idea that Jesus says build on solid ground, build something that will stand and will be ready to stand even in the winds that follow. And so the question that we have about faith is, does your faith stand when there is a howling gale, when the storm is around you, when life is there? Have you placed faith in something that you feel secure in? And so that's what we're thinking about and asking the question, well, what do we need to have faith in? What does our faith actually look like? Because people talk about, I have faith, and it sounds, well, in what? Where's the strength in that? Whereas we talk about the idea of having faith in something that is secure and solid and has got a strength to it. So that's what we've been talking about. And here is that question: what are the things about the Christian faith that we need to have faith in? The question sometimes is easy to grapple with it if we work from the negative. What happens if we take that out? So, for example, what happens if Jesus didn't rise from the dead? Well, if Jesus didn't rise from the dead, then Jesus is dead, and he is as dead as every other great teacher and guru from down the centuries. He's no different to Buddha, he's no different to Muhammad, he's no different to all the other great teachers, because he's dead. He said good things and then he died. The Christian faith makes an outrageous claim that Jesus is alive. And it's really, really important, because we have to ask the question, if Jesus isn't alive, or I don't believe he's alive, what difference does that make to my faith? For me, if Jesus hasn't risen from the dead, then basically what's the point of living this life and going through all this life trying to be nice to people if there is no purpose to it? If at the end I just die and that's the end of it. It comes back to the thing you hear so many times, people talking about YOLO, Y-O-L-O, you only live once. No, I don't believe that. My Christian faith tells me I'm going to live twice, and the second time is forever. So there's the first question. Does it matter that God created everything? I think it does. Does it matter that Jesus was born of a virgin? It does, because if he's not born of a virgin, then there is an issue about he's just another bloke, whereas we say he's somebody totally different. All these questions are ones we spend a lifetime grappling with, but we have to grapple with them. We then come to the question of, what did Jesus mean when he said, I am the truth? The truth, not a truth, but the truth. He said an absolute fact about himself. And as we said last time, either he is who he says he is, or he is a liar. We have to say that Jesus is somebody who is who he says he is. And if he's the truth, then everything hangs on that statement. That then says all our structures of our faith, the tower that we're building, has to actually have him, as the Bible talks about, as the cornerstone. The cornerstone in a building is the stone, it's at the corner. But it's a stone by which everything else fits. In other words, all the walls fit according to that stone. All the walls going up, along and down. Everything fits to that stone. Jesus is the cornerstone. So this idea of the climbing frame, it's there to give us help. It's there to describe to us how we can fit everything around Jesus. There are the fundamental fixed points that we've talked about, those fixed points that are perhaps, I think, the creedal statements, the ones that actually say this is who we believe in, what we believe about him. But there's also the other little bits, the bits in between. And the idea of this climbing frame is we can climb in and around it. We climb in and around our faith and explore how the things that we have questions about fit to those secure elements. Now, that may mean we come to different conclusions. People come to different conclusions about some of the items that are mentioned on the sheets. But it gives us the chance to say, this is how I structure my faith. And it gives us an opportunity to then structure our faith in such a way as we can then describe it to others. And that's key, because ultimately our faith only means something if we can articulate it, if we can speak about it, if we can give it a structure, which means to other people, when they say, so what do you believe about this? And I believe about this because of this, 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 and this, the way it connects together. So I hope that picture has been a help. And finally, we come to this reading from Philippians. Paul's writing to the Philippians. He's writing to a church, perhaps only 20, 30 years after Jesus died and rose again. And they're trying to say, well, how do we make sense of all the things we're reading about Jesus? And that's where he begins to build perhaps what we read as a very early creed. We actually think it might even be a hymn which actually describes what Jesus did. And this idea, I find it really helpful as a picture of Jesus coming down to the absolute lowest point, making himself nothing and coming down, dying, and then being raised by God again. The picture that is on the sheet, which I find incredibly helpful, because it talks about Jesus's humility. It talks about this person who didn't have to, but gave of himself freely. It talks about something that, well, makes a phenomenal difference to us and to the world, but also for the future. Because it says that one day every knee will bow. One day every person on this planet, whether they like it or not, every person through history will have to bow. At the very name of Jesus, they will bow. Not even having to face him, just the name of his name, Jesus, they will have to bow. It's a wonderful, wonderful way that we end this particular week. Our faith is in someone. It is in something that he did, something that he stood for, and something that we proclaimed. But ultimately, it is in the someone that is Jesus Christ. And this story of our salvation, that's what we say we have faith in, because it makes a difference for all eternity.